से देख
ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು?
actually
ಆ ಕಡೆ ಇದೆ ಕ್ಯಾಟರಿಂಗ್ ಅವ್ರು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಹೆಂಗಿದೆ
ರಾಕೇಶ್
ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಕೀ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಾನ? ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಾನು. ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಕೀ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ಯಾನ? ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತದೆ? ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡ. ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಕ್ಕಾಕಲ್ಲ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಆನ್ ಮಾಡೋ ಟೈಮ್ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಡಿ ಬನ್ನಿ.
May I request the audience to settle down, please, so that we can have the guests onto the auditorium? May I request the guests to settle down, please?
ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದು சரி சார்.
Balraj ಇಲ್ಲಿ
ಅವ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇದೆ ಸರ್.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the chief guest arrives. Institute Day, always a joyous occasion of the CPRI fraternity, both serving and retired. and more so today because we are meeting after a gap of 3 years of challenging times. On this occasion, we have with us Professor Rishikesha T. Krishnan, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Bengaluru, as the chief guest and to deliver the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture on the topic, The Role of Technological Innovations in Building Viksit Bharat. Also present are our clients, retired employees, and esteemed guests from various organizations. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your presence add a special charm to this momentous occasion. We now present to you the journey of CPRI in this short documentary specifically made for this occasion. Please. That was in a nutshell. I now request Sri B.A. Savle, Director General, along with Additional Directors Dr. Ramjeet and Dr. P. Thomas, to kindly escort Professor Rishikesh Krishnan sir to the dais, please. Lighting the lamp is a cherished tradition that transcends time and cultures. In its essence, it symbolizes the eternal pursuit of enlightenment, the illumination of our minds, and the triumph of truth over ignorance. Honoring this tradition and celebrate the power of light to dispel darkness, now I request everyone to rise for the lighting of the ceremonial lamp and invite the honorable dignitaries on the dais to come forward and light the lamp, please. Thank you, sirs.
ಲೈಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತು.
With the blessings of the resplendent flame of wisdom, let's move forward to commence the Institute Day 24 with renewed zeal and connect with our spirits. Connect our spirits with the architect of the universe to seek blessings, guidance, and wisdom. May I invite Srimati Tulika Bhattacharya to lead us into the prayer, please.
ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗಜಮುಖನೇ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗಜಮುಖನೇ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗುರುಕುಲಕ್ಕೆ ವರವಾಗಿ ಗುರಿ ತೋರು ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ಉರಿ ನೀನು ಎಂದೆಂದು ಕರುಣಾಳು ಬಾಬಂಧು ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗಜಮುಖನೇ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಬಾಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಾಗಿ ಬಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಯಾಗಿ ಕ್ಷಣ ಕ್ಷಣವೂ ನಮಗಾಗಿ ನೆರವಾಗು ಬೆಳಕಾಗಿ ಬಾಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದಾಗಿ ಬಾ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಯಾಗಿ ಕ್ಷಣ ಕ್ಷಣವೂ ನಮಗಾಗಿ ನೆರವಾಗು ಬೆಳಕಾಗಿ ದಯೆ ಇರಲಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಗತಿ ನೀನೆ ಆದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗಜಮುಖನೇ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ವಿಧಿಯಾಗಿ ಸುದೆ ತುಂಬುವೊಲವಾಗಿ ಹಿರಿಯಾದ ಸಿರಿ ನೀನು ಈ ಬಾಲ ಸವಿಜಯನು ವಿಧಿಯಾಗಿ ಸುದೆ ತುಂಬುವೊಲವಾಗಿ ಹಿರಿಯಾದ ಸಿರಿ ನೀನು ಈ ಬಾಲ ಸವಿಜಯನು ದೈರಲಿ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಗತಿ ನೀನೆ ಆದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗಜಮುಖನೇ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ಗುರುಕುಲಕ್ಕೆ ವರವಾಗಿ ಗುರಿ ತೋರು ಗುರುವಾಗಿ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ ನೀನಮ್ಮ ಗೆಲುವಾಗಿವಾ.
That was a beautiful rendition of the prayer song, Tulika. May the spirit of this prayer guide us in our paths and drive our action. I now request Dr. P. Thomas, Additional Director, to welcome the gathering, please.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Professor Rishikesha T. Krishnan, Director IIM Bengaluru, our beloved Director General B. S. Sable sir, the CPRI fraternity, senior officers, the power sector, distinguished professors, senior consultants, guest fellows, media, press, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, we would like to cordially welcome you, all of you, for being noticed to celebrate the Institute Day celebration of CPRI 2024. So indeed, it is a great honor to have with us Professor Rishikesha T. Krishnan, Director IIM Bengaluru, as a chief guest and to deliver the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture on the topic, the role of technological innovations in building Viksit Bharat. I request our Director General to formally welcome our chief guest with the flower part and his short words. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to to welcome scientists from various institutes such as Tata Institute IISc, CMPI, NAL, HAL, CSR Labs, and other research establishments in Bangalore, various industrialists, and other from including representatives from the media. I welcome the participants from power sector, NTPC, Power Grid, PGCL, BHL, KARC, KPCL, KPDCL, DESCOM, and other ESCOMs. I welcome all our clients who are here with us and who is using our services for testing and other consultancy. I also extend a warm welcome to the data officials of CPRI. CPRI is what it is today because of your long and services and of your efforts. As a part of this event, we have organized a cultural program. We welcome singer Chaitra Hanatu, who will be performing today. So we welcome one and all, and eagerly awaiting for the Pandit Ramaraj lecture by Chief Guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the welcome address. The Secretary, Ministry of Power, is also the President of the Governing Council of CPRI, and he sends his best wishes to us, and his message will be read out by my colleague, Ms. Kamala.
I'm honored to read out the message sent by Secretary Ministry of Power. Dear CPRI fraternity, as we gather to celebrate the Institute Day of Central Power Research Institute 2024, I extend my warmest wishes to entire CPRI family. CPRI's contributions in research and development and testing for more than 6 decades has placed CPRI at the forefront of Indian power sector. Government of India is supporting CPRI in augmenting existing test facilities and establishing new units across the country to cope with increasing needs of power sector. In this era of transition to clean energy, it is crucial for institutions like CPRI to be poised and adaptable to the research and consultancy needs of the power sector. Your commitment to excellence and innovation has been the driving force behind CPRI's success, and I have no doubt that the Institute will play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the power sector. May the Institute continue to prosper, scale greater heights, and excel as an icon in the field of power engineering, not only in India but also at global arena. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamala. Now is the time to release the relaunched CPRI news called Vidyut Anusandhan Samachar and a compendium of technical reports published by CPRI. I request the Chief Guest to release the compendium on glimpses of power sector research technical articles on research volume number 1, please. We have gone into the history to collect all the technical reports, and there are some which are as old as 40, 50. And now DC will release the relaunched CPRI news called Anusandhan Samachar. Thank you very much, sir. I take the privilege now to call upon Shri B.A. Sable sir, the first person to rise from the ranks directly to the post of Director General, to give his presidential address, please.
Good afternoon. Today's function's chief guest, Professor Rishikesh Krishna, Director IIM Bangalore. Distinguished guest, former Director General Shri Dana Kumar, guest from IIC, our distinguished customers, my colleagues, retired directors, retired additional directors, retired joint directors, all my retired colleagues, and my present colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, press and media. Very good afternoon, and once more I welcome all of you to this today's function. You all have seen the short film we put up on the evolution of Central Power Research Institute, established in 1960, on the recommendation of Planning Commission for Engineering Research, headed by Professor M.S. Thacker, the then director of CSIR, and it was made in high voltage ISC. So I recently, while discussing with the eminent person from the register from ISC, I told that we were born in ISC. So in the year 1970, the Societies Act as a Ministry of War. So that basically we celebrated as History Day every year. For last six decades, CPRI has remained steadfast in its commitment to applied research and delivering top-notch services aimed at enhancing the quality, reliability, and efficiency of the law. We are led by the leadership and support of all the employees in past and present. Commitment to excellence, certified by state-of-the-art test facilities, and adherence to the best practices has enabled us to provide quality services aimed at enhancing reliability of the cost and the cost effectiveness within the power system. We are unwavering in our dedication to serve as a fundamentally in all domains of power sector and ongoing paradigm of shift in energy transition. Our resolve remains steadfast, resolute in our commitment to this cause in the nation building. The just launched compendium predict that the saga of CPRI journey in research front areas of the electrical engineering undertaken since the inception of, and I believe the compendium effectively project CPRI's contribution in a little way. Technical articles on the research also records the recognition and research contribution of CPRI officers. It complies of it compiles of list of the sum of the research projects. We could not accommodate all this one, but this is the first one. It will continue to be. Now we bring the second one, third one. So this was undertaken by various groups, labs, divisions, units of CPRI in concise manner, in many more to follow. I place on record the contribution of committee comprising of retired officers. Our retired senior officers put their efforts and brought this value. So I thanks all of you. Likewise, we have relaunched the CPRI news, which had to be stopped due to pandemic, and now it is renamed as Anusandhan Samachar. CPRI has been augmenting its existing laboratories and setting up new test centers across the country to cope up with the increasing demand of the power sector. CPRI's testing is globally recognized and serves the several countries all over the world that they use this facility. Regional test centers at Nasik, comprising of 1,500 online short circuit laboratory, energy test laboratory, 800 test laboratory, transformer test, and we also are going to add in that electromagnetic compliance test laboratory, and it will be soon ready, and I hope inaugurated soon. CPR is also setting up regional test center at Raipur, and it will be ready by end of the 2025. Upgradation of our high power test laboratory to the from 2,500 MVA to 7,000 MVA is expected to be completed in another 1 year. It will be the milestone, and it will be one of the biggest laboratory in the world. FinTech, which is the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical Economic Cooperation, CPRI. Similarly, CPRI is a nodal agency for implementation of research projects, schemes of the Ministry of Power. Recently, the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of Renewable Energy have jointly launched national mission to identify emerging technologies in power sector and develop them indigenously at scale for development within and outside India. There is national mission which is titled as Mission on Advanced and High Impact Research MIND aims to facilitate indigenous research, development and demonstrate the latest and emerging technologies in the power sector. CPRI has been given the responsibility to be a secretary and has to manage the program and technical and technical scoping committee and others. I congratulate our officers for achievements. They have been granted patents in this year. Many of our officers' papers have been recognized as the best paper in the various conferences. I congratulate all of them. I am glad to inform that our employee Suresh has secured a bronze medal in Singapore Parabowling International 2020. So not taking much time. Thank you. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your address on this occasion. Your involvement into details and calm demeanor motivates us to deliver the best. Thank you. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture is synonymous with the CPRI Institute Day celebration. Nehru's far-sighted vision and admirable leadership is responsible for developing the modern science in our country. He played a major role in establishing a modern scientific and technological infrastructure and strove to promote scientific temper. And today, Professor Rishikesha T. Krishnan, Sir, Director, Indian Institute of Management, has kindly consented to deliver the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture on the topic, the role of technological innovations in building Viksit Bharat. We are on the verge of many innovations which are path-breaking and bring radical changes to the society. We look forward to your viewpoints, sir. But before that, may I request my colleague Sriram to introduce the chief guest to the gathering.
Happy Institute Day to the dignitaries on the dais and the respected audience. Today, I am privileged to introduce to you a foremost management thinker and distinguished academic, Professor Rishikesha Krishnan, who is here as our chief guest to deliver the Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture. Professor Rishikesha Krishnan is Director and Professor of Strategy at the Indian Institute of Management, Bengaluru. He was earlier Director of IIM Indore. He is currently the Ramcharan Chair Professor in Innovation and Leadership, and earlier held the Jamuna Raghavan Chair in Entrepreneurship at IIMB from 2007 to 2010. Professor Krishnan was educated at IIT Kanpur, Stanford University, and IIM Ahmedabad. His main areas of interest are strategy and innovation. He has been listed in the Thinkers 50 India list, most influential management thinkers from India. Apart from academic publications, Professor Krishnan has written 2 books. The latest book, titled 8 Steps to Innovation, Going from Jugaad to Excellence, co-authored with Vinay Dabholkar, which won the Best Book Award for 2013-14 from the Indian Society for Training and Development. And and the earlier one is titled From Jugaad to Systemic Innovation, the Challenge for India. Professor Krishnan has extensive corporate board and advisory experience. He is currently on the boards of the National Payments Corporation of India, Wheels India Limited, and the Higher Education Financing Agency. He has served on several committees set up by the Government of India and prominent industry associations related to innovation in India. He is a member of the CII National Committee on Technology, Innovation and Research and the CII National Higher Education Committee. Professor Krishnan was a member of the expert committee set up by the Government of India in 2017-18 under the chairmanship of Justice B. N. Srikrishnan to propose a data protection framework for India. Professor Krishnan co-founded one startup and was CEO of another. He has been on the jury of the Economic Times Startup Awards. He is currently on the advisory board of Your Best Investment Advisors. Without further delay, I invite Professor Rishikesh Krishnan to deliver the Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture. I humbly request the dignitaries on the dais to occupy the front row seats.
Just bear with me for a minute till we get this thing set up. That is going to be quite difficult, I think. Keep the laptop whenever I get access. Yes. So let me don't waste time. We'll just start and the point can come along. So good afternoon. First, you are celebrating your Institute Day. I think this is a very important milestone in institute. And I'm particularly happy that you are all meeting in person after a long time. So it's certainly my intention. What I'm going to speak about lecture is about the importance of technological innovation in building what the Prime Minister is calling present, which basically is anticipating India's emergence as a developed nation by the year 2047. So what I will do in this lecture is I will just give you a brief introduction to why technological innovation is important. I will tell you a bit about where India stands today as far as technological innovation is concerned. And I will also tell you some of the challenges that India faces as far as technological innovation is concerned. And finally, I will conclude with what are some of the steps we need to take if we want to accelerate the technological innovation process. So this is the broad structure of my talk, and I will do that as start as soon as we get the point. Better if you get the pointer. Better if you get the pointer. Let's start after that. We need to. Can you hear me clearly? At least from the one. So, Manage, sir. Good. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. Thanks for your patience.
We should take turns, sir.
No problem. Okay. So this talk is based on two books that I have written, which were mentioned in the introduction. The first one is called From Jugaad to Systematic Innovation: The Challenge for India. And the second one is this one, 8 Steps to Innovation, Going from Jugaad to Excellence. Of course, these books were written some years ago. So what I'm going to share with you today is a highly updated version of that. In case any of you are interested in going back and understanding more about this topic, you could certainly refer to these books. So let's just start by trying to understand a little bit about what is the reason that we are really focused on this idea of technological innovation. Why is it so important? The reason it's important is multi-dimensional. The first one is very simple. Most studies on economic growth, which try to explain why growth happens in different economies, they have come to the conclusion that while traditionally the focus was on capital and labor, today a lot of the growth is actually driven by increasing the productivity of both of these factors thanks to technology. So any country which needs to grow fast needs to embrace technological innovation in a big way. Second reason is quite obvious that often for strategic reasons, you need to have control over some of the critical technologies that you need. For example, if India needs to defend itself well, you need to have aircraft carriers and many other defense equipment. And if you're dependent on other countries, that could always be a challenge. The third reason is something we saw very clearly during COVID. While the vaccines were being made in India, some of the critical raw materials and intermediates which went into the vaccines were not available here. If you remember, somewhere during the COVID pandemic time, our external affairs minister, during one of his trips to the US, he was actually trying to negotiate and make sure that all those intermediates were available in a regular way. So sometimes what we are realizing now is you need to have end-to-end technological capability, because otherwise, even if you don't have some intermediate step, you may not be able to complete the entire production process. We also realize from time to time that we need some low-cost solutions. Many of the existing solutions may not be appropriate or they may be too expensive. Just to give you an example, we have many diseases in India which need to be addressed. One of the main causes of infant mortality is something called the rotavirus, and we were able to develop a vaccine to specifically address this in India at a much lower cost than India. So this is a very typical reason why we need to have technological innovation capabilities. Last but not the least, from time to time, we also, of course, want to do well in different domains. And for example, if you look at the motorcycle industry, this is one industry in which India is leader. We have Indian companies like Hero, TVS, Bajaj, etc., which command dominating market share in the Indian market, and as a result of that, the global production volume. And they cannot obviously do that unless they also have a very strong technological capability. So these are just some of the reasons why technological capability in general and technological innovation in particular are important for any particular country. So where do we start? I think that's an important thing to understand. Clearly, I think as was mentioned in the preface to the talk, right since the time India became independent under the leadership of Nehru and others, we made a determined effort to develop our own technological capabilities. But if you look at comparison between India and other countries at present, you will see that we have done well on some dimensions, but we have done not so well on certain other dimensions. You might be familiar with many of these, but in any case, let me take you through what those dimensions are. What is the trajectory we have followed? The trajectory we have followed is that after independence, we needed to build industrial capability in many different sectors. And at that point of time, we did not have the technological access for the simple reason that under the British rule, the British had no reason why we should have that ability. So we had to build all the industries from scratch. You remember, right, starting from the 1950s onwards, we tried to build steel industry, fertilizers, petrochemicals, power sector, many industries we tried to build. And at that point of time, just to be able to set up the production capability, we had to import the technology from elsewhere. In other words, we had to learn how to produce, which was the first step. Once we had imported that technology, we had to figure out how to use it well. So sometimes we have to also figure out how do we do that in Indian conditions, in Indian labor, Indian raw materials, a lot of peculiarities in the local environment. So our second challenge was how to learn to produce efficiently. In some years subsequent to that, we also want to reach the frontier of those particular technologies. So you will see we also continue to try to improve production. And then once you fast forward a little bit to come up to the early 90s, you see we also went away looking merely at processes and implementation to also developing products in different areas. So this in a way has been the overall trajectory which India has followed right from independence onwards in terms of developing different technological and innovation. So what are the factors that really make a difference to developing any kind of innovation capability? There are three sets of factors. One set of factors is from the input side. You have the right skills, you have the right people, you have the right infrastructure, you have the strong educational institutions, and so on. That's what I'm showing on the input side. But there's also an important on the what's there on the right hand side. Does the environment really motivate you, incentivize you to innovate? You all remember, right? For the longest time, the ambassador car model remained almost exactly the same. Till we made some important changes. What are the changes we made? We said, okay, we need to open up our economy, we need to make it more competitive. Therefore, there also needs to be some both technology coming in and going out and so on. So essentially, the external environment has to motivate people to innovate. What does that mean? You need to have competition. You need what is called appropriability, which means you need a strong intellectual property rights and a regime where you can get the benefit of innovation. And the market also needs to value innovation. That is, the investors and so on need to see value in a company that innovates more. So this side is also extremely important. You might call this the demand side for innovation. You might call what is on the left hand side the supply side. But finally, there's something in the middle. That's perhaps the most important of all. What is the in the middle is what is the innovation capability within organizations? It could be within a research institute like CPRI, or it could be in a company which is innovating new products and services to offer them to the market. If the organizations don't have the capability, the right structure, the right leadership, and so on, you won't see enough innovation happening. So where do we stand as far as this is concerned? If you look at over time, what's happened over time is that some things have improved quite a bit. The right hand side, I would say, has improved quite a bit. That is whatever I told you in terms of the incentives. But there is still some challenge as far as the left hand side, the supply side, as well as the innovation capability of firms. So let's break that down a little bit. Let's try and understand how does it look when we look at our overall metrics. Many of you will be familiar with some of these metrics. Just to give you a comparison point, I'm giving you China. Not that I'm saying that China should be the model for us to follow, but you need to have some benchmarks. So I'm giving you China as a comparison point. This is a figure which is very well known. The figure that's very well known is that our expenditure on R&D is about 0.7% of GDP. We got it a little bit over the last several years. Whereas in the developed world, typically it's about 2.5 to 3%. And even in a country like China, with whom we often compare ourselves, it is about 2.4%. So one thing we can see is that we have quite a long way to go as far as spending on R&D is concerned. Now, one thing we also realize is that the R&D expenditure in India is quite skewed. There are certain sectors which are in a way the leaders. That's not surprising. Every country has its leaders. But in India, the largest innovators or the largest spenders on R&D are the three at the bottom. Drugs and pharmaceuticals is the largest. Transportation is number 2. And you'll see that information technology is number 3. These are the sectors where quite a significant portion of the R&D expenditure is happening. By extension, this also means that the other sectors are probably not spending as much as they should be on R&D. A third important thing to keep in mind is who is paying for this R&D. And this is something I'm sure all of you are again familiar with as members of the CPRI family. And in India, which is one of the largest in the country, more than 50% of the expenditure on R&D comes from the government. Whereas if you compare with most of the other countries, you will see that over time, a significant majority of the expenditure on R&D happens from the business sector. This is an important transition that needs to take place if India is to become a leader in technological innovation. The onus of doing R&D and innovation really has to shift to industry. Of course, institutes like yours will still continue to have an important role, but it is industry which will have to take the lead in translating a lot of those innovations into production and output. Okay, let's also just dig a little deeper. One of the reasons India's R&D spend is not very high is also because of the way our industrial sectors are distributed. Now, for example, I'm giving you again a comparison between India and China. What you see in the top half is the top 3 spenders on R&D in India, which happen to be Tata Motors, Sun Pharma, and Nandito Pharma. Not surprising, right? I told you that drugs and pharmaceuticals and transportation are the top spenders on R&D. But look at the comparison. The top 3 spenders in China are Huawei, which is a telecom company, and Alibaba and Tencent, which are basically in the e-commerce and that kind of arena, right? They're basically in the computer arena. But more importantly, I draw your attention to the numbers. The top spender in India, in whichever year this was 2021, was Tata Motors, which spent about 2 billion euros on R&D. The top spender in China, Huawei, spent about 8 to 9 times what Tata Motors was. Partly this is related to the industry, because in a kind of industry in which Huawei is a leader, the R&D intensity is much higher. You cannot survive in that industry without a significant investment in R&D. And we don't have presence in India in the most R&D intensive industries, which tend to be semiconductors, computer hardware, and so on. So one of the challenges for India is also going to be to diversify our industrial base into some of the more R&D and technologically intensive sectors that will also have some sort of a natural impact on the growth of R&D expenditure. Traditionally, a lot of the patents in India were actually awarded to inventors from outside India. Essentially, they were awarded to multinational companies. But one important trend that is slowly changing, which is worth noting, is that the number of patents awarded to Indian inventors or inventors from India is growing. Now, this is not actually grants data, this is the application data. But applications are a good lead indicator for what will happen in grants some years later. So if you see here by 2021-22, we are beginning to see that about 44% of the applications came from domestic inventors, whereas it was only 29% in 2016-17. This is a broad indicator, it's a good sign, because it shows that we are slowly seeing a shifting of the focus and a lot more innovation happening in the domestic economy. If this trend continues, then over time we are likely to see a higher proportion of the patents coming from Indian investors. What you can also see from this chart is comparing high-tech manufactured exports. By the way, this doesn't include services. India does very well in high-tech services, but in high-tech manufactured exports, you will see that India exported about 21.6 billion US dollars in 2020, whereas China exported 757 billion. So you can see the difference about 35 times or whatever it is. This again is partly a reflection of the nature of our economies. China, of course, is a very manufacturing and export-led economy. Not very surprising that high-tech exports are high. But that is the direction in which we are trying to move now by setting up semiconductor industry and so on. And I will come back to that in a few minutes. Okay, now you remember I showed you in that earlier chart that the quality of inputs is very important for technological innovation to happen. And there I mentioned the importance of the education system. So this compares the top universities in India with the top universities in China. This is again something many of you would have read in the media because it's spoken about quite frequently. And you can see here that our three top ranked institutions in 2022, which were IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, and ISC Bangalore, were in the range of 150 to 200 ranked, whereas China's top institutes were in the top. So this again is an area where we have to quickly move forward in order to get into the top line. However, there is one aspect of innovation in which India is generally considered a leader, and that's also something noting because it's one of our strengths, and that is in the area of so-called frugal innovation. What is frugal innovation? Frugal innovation, as its name suggests, is the ability to do innovation with low cost, not necessarily with very sophisticated technology, but to solve problems that are relevant to the local economy. So you will see several interesting examples here, like Arvind Eye Care, reverse engineered vaccines, heart surgery at low cost, and so on, which are all examples where India has made a mark for itself as a very low cost innovative country. This is a strength, by the way, we should retain, but we also need to combine it with the ability to work in sophisticated technology. And this again, I will come back to later. Okay, one thing which is worth taking note of is what has been happening in recent years. So a colleague of mine, Sindhu, and I did an analysis of what are the top innovations in India over the decade from 2011 to 2020. And the criteria we used to choose these innovations was the importance of the problem, the novelty of the solution, and the scale of impact. So based on this, we have chosen 10 innovations, and the reason I'm presenting this to you is just to give you an indicator of what is the direction in which innovation is happening in India. I will then compare it with what we were doing in the previous decade, and I will draw some conclusions from that. So let me just bear with me as I just quickly take you through the top 10 innovations of the last decade. Okay, the top 10 innovations for 2011-20. I think all of you would agree that one important thing is, of course, the vaccine. We saw that during the COVID pandemic. I already mentioned Rotavirus, which is the vaccine which we have developed locally in India for the rotavirus. But one of the most impactful innovations, at least from a long-term perspective, has been our biometric identity system. The reason it's been important is it has provided a foundation for many other innovations to ride on top of that, including whether it be financial inclusion, whether it be a national health stack which is getting developed. All of these are riding on the basic foundation layer of the biometric identity. And no other country has created a biometric identity system on this scale. Which takes me to the next two innovations which have made a significant impact. One is, of course, CPRI, which is our digital payment system. It's not as though other countries don't have digital payment systems, but again, it's a similar story. It's our scale. It's the fact that it is completely agnostic to who is the operator or who is the bank. So irrespective of who the person on the other side banks, you can actually transfer money to them or to a vendor very easily. So that's something which is quite unique. We also have a few companies which have done outstanding innovation in the hardware space. One of them is Aegis Networks, which is right here in Bangalore. And they are a leader in optical networking equipment, maybe not that well known, but they are one of the fastest growing technology companies from India. Okay, the fifth and sixth ones which I would like to mention. I don't know what is your experience. I know it has its own challenges, but the government electronic marketplace or GEM is a unique innovation in the sense that it allows the government to make its procurement very efficient. I know in practice many of us have experienced some challenges in using it effectively, but it has certainly reduced something, brought in something like a 25% cost saving into government procurement. So these are the kind of things which make an impact on the economy as a whole. Similarly, in the space of public policy, one very important innovation we have seen is what is called the aspirational district program. What the government figured out some years ago, of course, and something that's well known to all of us, is that some districts which are right at the bottom of the hierarchy as far as human development are concerned, it's very difficult for those districts to improve their performance. What the aspirational district program has done is it has used a data and competition based approach to encourage competition between the different aspirational districts as they are called, but actually there are 112 most backward districts. And the effort is to use the combined efforts of the central, state, and the local government in order to improve the performance. And at least in some of these districts, it's been extremely successful. Maybe you don't think of this as an innovation, but this is very important in terms of kind of impact it can. Another area we did very well is, of course, in testing kits, which again most of us experienced during COVID. And India, of course, pharmaceutical industry is one of the high points as far as innovation is concerned. The Indian pharmaceutical industry historically was very good at what is called generic drugs. What that means is they are not very good at creating completely new molecules, but they are very good at efficiently producing existing molecules at low cost. But there are exceptions to that, and one of the important exceptions was this product called Saroglitazar, which was developed by Titus Canada. What is important about this drug, and is important for all of us, is that this was the first new chemical entity developed in India, which went all the way from R&D to testing to certification to launch in the global market. So this is a very important milestone which happened about 10 years ago in 2013. And prior to that, there was no drug from India which had actually gone through this entire cycle under the supervision of an Indian pharmaceutical. We've also been lucky to see a large number of healthcare startups, and here I would particularly mention two of them, Forus and Miramai, which have come up with very useful ways of applying technology, including AI and machine learning, to solve important problems. In the case of Miramai, it's early detection of breast cancer. In the case of Forus, it is identifying eye defects. And both of these are very impactful young companies, I can't call them startups anymore, which have shown how it's possible to use memory technology to solve very important problems. And last but not least, I'm sure all of you would, of course, agree with that India's space program, and particularly Mangalyaan, which I mentioned here, have been very important innovations because once again we have shown that they combine ingenuity, low cost, and India was unique in being able to do a Mars mission for the first time correctly and at about 1/7 the cost of the next most expensive country. So what does all of this tell us? Well, it tells us something interesting when we compare it to the innovations in the previous decade. I had done a similar exercise in 2010 at the request of India Today magazine, where I had tried to identify the top innovations from 2000 to 2010. And interestingly, when I tried to identify the innovations at that time, most of them were in the product domain. They were, for example, the Nano, or there were things like Nivata, there was Bajaj Pulsar, there was advanced light helicopter. These were some of the innovations which had really made a big impact in the previous domain, the previous decade, that is 2000 to 2010. So when we compare these two decades, when we look at the 2000 to 2010 with the 2011 to 2020, what are the important differences? The first important difference you see is that a lot of the innovation which has happened in the last decade have been broadly in the public space or the public domain. Whether it be Aadhaar, UPI, aspirational district program, GEM, they are not necessarily done by the government itself, but they have certainly been done with the blessings and with the support of the government. They're all on a national scale, and not surprisingly, digital and data are playing very significant role in most of the digital innovation compared to the previous day. So that's one thing we might like to keep in mind. What we also need to keep in mind is that these have really enabled a new way of looking at innovation, because again we are looking at the whole notion of a stack of innovations, one which goes on top of the other, and which allows other companies to create innovation through what are called open APIs. That is basically there is a programmable interface to which other products and software can connect. So while you might have something like UPI, it means different banks, different fintech companies, NBFCs, and so on can connect to this. So this is actually a completely different way of looking at innovation. Of course, one thing you would have noticed from many of the examples we gave is that healthcare is a major arena. Not surprising, because COVID was a major driver for this sector. What's a little worrying though, as a concern to somebody like me who studies innovation, is that we have seen some kind of a reduction in what you might call the big ticket, highly visible innovation projects in the private sector. There's no equivalent of Tata Nano in the last decade. There was no equivalent of some of the other products that should. So there's a little bit of a concern, because it does suggest that maybe the corporate sector's investment in large innovation projects is slowing down. And so this is one thing we might like to think about when we're looking at what has to be done next. But there is on the flip side, there's something good that has happened. Good thing that has happened is startups have emerged as important innovators. I gave you the examples of Jeremiah and First, but there are lots of others who are now becoming very significant players in the whole innovation. However, deep tech innovation is still an issue. What do I mean by deep tech innovation? Deep tech innovation is those startups who are using intensive R&D at the frontier of science and technology to come up with new products and services. It's not really been a domain where we have seen too much happening. There have been important enablers that sense worth looking at those enablers for a moment. One important enabler has, of course, been the digital backbone, and even the efforts of private companies like Reliance to provide high quality, low cost internet access. Interestingly, a lot of these new innovations, whether it be Aadhaar, whether it be UPI, have been developed by very interesting models. These are not by people sitting in a single organization. These are not people sitting in one research institute. This is often being done by networks of people in a collaborative way. It's more like open source innovation in software. That's the volunteer kind of model which is driving many of the innovation. So that's a very different way of innovating as far as India is concerned. Of course, government programs like Startup India have played a important role. I would also compliment the government for a lot of the coordination initiatives. For example, in COVID, it's the government which brought different agencies together to try and address the vaccine and testing challenges. This is an important role which the government has to continue to play. What are some of the important recent developments? What are some of the new policies or the new initiatives which might change the arena for technological innovation going forward? Most of these you would have heard names familiar in some form or the other. One is what is called the PLI scheme. It's a production linked incentive program. What the government is trying to do under the PLI scheme is to create a seed for significant investment in manufacturing with certain priority sectors. The hope is that with that concentrated investment happening, those industries will grow within India. Suppliers and other vendors and the whole ecosystem will grow, and India will become a significant force. And the assumption in a way is also that R&D and innovation in those industries will also grow in India. So this is an important initiative, though it started 50 years ago. We are already beginning to see some results. For example, last year in June, one of the leading chip companies called Micron decided to make an investment in a major semiconductor facility in Gujarat, and the that has already happened. So once this comes on stream, we will see the origins of a semiconductor industry in India at an industrial scale. Not to say that we don't have capabilities in semiconductors. I know that ISC has a very nice semiconductor lab, but it's one thing to create it at a R&D level. It's another thing to have a huge manufacturing facility, and that's what the PLI is trying to achieve. Another important initiative which many of you will know about is the creation of the National Research Foundation. The goal here is to try and concentrate the resources available for R&D from the government as well as from CSR money as well as industry to make a significant impact in R&D in different domains. The objective is to have a fund of as much as 50,000 crores over the next 5 years. Of course, only part of this will come from the government. A lot of this is intended to be brought in from other contributors. So one of the challenges for this is going to be whether we are going to see the kind of contributions which are expected from industry and others. We are also seeing that as India becomes more capable domestically, some of the barriers which were there to importing technology are also coming down. This is a natural consequence. If you see your capabilities are going down, then others who want to have a share of the Indian market will also start or increase their willingness to share capabilities. One example of that is the fact that GE actually has licensed the fighter aircraft engine technology, which will go into the LCA. So that's another important development because it in a way recognizes that if they don't do it, India will probably develop the technology. Of course, the successful Chandrayaan mission was an important motivator for the country as a whole, as far as innovation capabilities is concerned. But we also need to see some other interesting policies. One of the interesting policies is in the domain like space. Traditionally, we always made the assumption that space is something only the government will look at. Everything that happens in space will only be under the umbrella of ISRO and it will all be under government control. The government is now asking an interesting question. They say, why should even well-established space technologies continue to be driven by ISRO? Why can't private sector pick it up? And ISRO can only focus on the R&D and the whatever is involved in at the cutting edge of technology. So these are all new ways of looking at things which should make an impact over time. We already see some impact. For example, there's a very interesting startup called Skyloop, which has already created a space for itself in the space industry. Right now, the rockets they are making are not that sophisticated. This is a platform, a kind of starting point for much more sophisticated technology to develop over time. What's also interesting is that in the startup domain, we are also beginning to see startups which are getting at the heart of some of the important technologies we need for the future. And we all know that electric vehicles are finally dependent on batteries. So battery technology is at the core of EVs. The battery is just, it's got a lot of things which go into the battery. And those are many of the things we don't have capabilities in India. So we have startups like the Log9 Materials which are focusing on that. So hopefully over time we will be able to see more such startups and technological capabilities getting into the country. And you should just shift to this one. Okay, so I'm coming to the last part of my talk. The last part of my talk is okay. I'll try to give you a picture of where did we start, what have we managed to do so far, where do we stand today. Now the obvious question is okay, what do we need to do next? So this is the last part of the talk. So I'm going to focus on four parts. I'm going to focus on the government. I'm going to talk about what established companies need to do. Thirdly, I'm going to talk about startups. And finally, I'm going to talk about academic and research institutions. I hope that last part will have some relevance to CPRI. Okay, so when we start with the government, so I think what we have seen in the government over the years is the government has been a very consistent supporter of R&D in India, which is for which all credit goes to successive governments since independence. But what we have also seen is that there is quite a big challenge in translating a lot of the R&D that's done with government support into industrial and commercial. So the biggest challenge before the R&D sector or the whole industrial sector today is how do we improve our translation abilities? Now, some of the government programs have done quite well in supporting transition. My favorite program is this one. It is a program under an agency called BIRAC, which is done by the Department of Biotechnology. What BIRAC has done, no other program in India has done, because BIRAC has been focused on the entire value chain. It looks right at early stage research, at scaling up, at commercialization, and at even further scaling up to a production level. So they not only provide funds to academic institutions, they provide to startups, they provide to established companies. Essentially, they are fairly agnostic to who is receiving the money and what stage you are. Their willingness to cover all stages has resulted in significant transition in the biotech. I'm just giving you a little bit of a chart on what are some of the main programs they have. In my view, there is an important need for programs like that to be replicated in other sectors as well. The second important arena for the government is really to create structured programs for technology development. We are seeing more and more of those now. As the government identifies certain critical technology gaps, but we've had enough evidence that these work quite well. I would like to draw your attention to something called the Collaborative Automotive Research Program. It's about almost a 20-year-old program, which had a very specific objective. They realized the automotive industry was changing. Vehicles had to get lighter weight, pollution and emissions needed to be reduced, and essentially you needed to become much more efficient in fuel combustion and so on. So under this program, funding was provided to consortia of R&D institutions and companies. And not only were some of the technologies developed under this put into production, more importantly, a lot of new enterprises also came up. Just to give you an example, you can see this gentleman whose photo is here. Mr. Suryanarayan, he's a faculty member at IIT Bombay. So he started with a project under this program in his lab, and today the company which was formed out of that Sedimap is today one of the leaders in India in developing control intensive projects for small engines. So we need to have more such programs which bring different parts of the economy together. Another important role for the government is to identify and coordinate requirements. It's very difficult if you come at the last minute and ask the company, why don't you have this product? You need to be able to imagine things in advance so that companies can start working on the technology. And for that, you need some agency or some effort to coordinate all this together. So we are seeing the PSA's office doing more and more of this now in different ways, but there's a need to increase the scale and scope of that. Our regulatory agencies also need to be more amenable and open to innovation. That probably also is your power sector, where I know an important role for CPRI is in testing. Now, even an agency like the Reserve Bank of India, the fintech industry has to grow, they need to allow some experimentation to happen in fintech. And of course, they need to make that happen without endangering the rest of the financial system. So there's this idea of what is called a regulatory sandbox. A regulatory sandbox is a kind of limited space for innovation and experimentation and testing to happen. It has already been done in certain areas like retail payments and cross-border payments. We need to see our regulatory agencies also being willing to embrace innovation if we want more of it. Government procurement is another important area for government support. Many of you would remember the reason COVID vaccines were available was because of government procurement. There were two manufacturers, there was Covishield. You can see our Serum Institute MD on the right. There was, of course, Bharat Biotech, which produced its own vaccine locally. You can see their MD on the left. The vaccines would never have reached the rest of the country if it were not for procurement. So, government has an important role to play in procurement. And that's something we have to develop as we go forward. Then we come to the next point, which is what established companies need to do. One of the challenges I think for established companies is their willingness and ability to develop innovation and technological capabilities over time. This is not a short challenge. This is more like a marathon than a sprint. So you need to be able to invest in this and remain at this job for 25 to 30 years. I want to give you an interesting example which is related to power but is not in power, which is project justice. Now, many of you would know that today when you buy petrol in the petrol pump, you're not getting 100%. You're getting blended fuel because India today has a policy that all fuels need to be blended. What is being blended with petrol? It's essentially ethanol or some form. It's a biofuel. And all of the biofuels are being produced today by a process which has been developed by Praj. In fact, Praj is working with the leading petroleum companies, Indian Oil, HPCL, and BPCL, to set up large biorefineries. But there is a whole journey they went through over the last 25 years to reach the stage today where they are a technological partner to all the top oil. I just given you some of the key steps here, but basically it needs a lot of perseverance, it needs a lot of intense engagement, and you need somebody like Pramod Chaudhary, who is the promoter of Raj today in his 70s, but he has driven the company for the last 30-35 years and been able to develop these capabilities. Well, very similar to that, you need to go through a step-by-step sort of progression. Right here in Bangalore, we have Biocon, which is India's leading biotech pharmaceutical company. Even usually they have gone through a similar progression. They started with generics, then they went into biosimilars, which by the way is their biggest business today. And they have gone into some new drug development kind of arenas in order to build their business for the future. Sometimes you don't even need to be a good innovator. What you need to be is a company who's willing to try out things. Many of you would have some time or other used Aquaguard. Aquaguard is a product of this company called Eureka Foam. Eureka Foam is a very interesting company because while they don't do too much R&D themselves, they are willing to experiment with other people's technology. This is a good thing because, as you know, Eureka Foam is a huge installed base of water purifiers in the country. So they have the ability to translate, to take an existing technology to the market. That can also be an important role that companies have. Last but not least, as far as companies are concerned, they also need to collaborate with startups. Here I'm talking about large companies. What most large companies have realized today is that they have an important role to play in helping startups scale up their technologies and reach the market. Just to give you an example, Cisco, which is a leading international router and networking space, they have an engineering center here in Bangalore. And they have a program where they collaborate with startups on an ongoing basis. I think every quarter, roughly, they take up a new startup and they collaborate with them. All the three reasons which I have listed, they're very clear about why they are collaborating. They want to track a new technology, or they want to associate with technology and collaborate or complement it. Or they're looking for something they can add on to their skills engine. But one of the challenges I'm seeing is our Indian companies are not perhaps as good at developing startup programs. This is another area where Indian companies need to improve their activities. Let me come to startups. Now, startups, to my mind, have one very important role. They need to work on the many startups in a way dissipate their energy by working on problems that are perhaps not that important. But some of them who actually take an interesting problem and work on it. I just give you an example. Incidentally, this is broadly related to environment and power and so on. There's this guy, who's a company based in Mysore. I first came across him about a decade ago when I was on the jury of the National Innovation Awards. So what this gentleman realized is a very simple problem. All computing is shifting to the cloud, right? You're using all these apps. And yet there are servers on the net. There are these huge banks of servers in data centers which are consuming huge amounts of power and also responsible for the overall greenhouse gas. And in order to keep those servers cool, they use really enormous amounts of electricity for everything. And they have been identified by environmental activists as one of the most biggest dangers as far as climate and global warming is concerned. What this guy from Vigyan realized is that you can actually reduce the power consumption of data centers simply by better control of servers so that they IT them when they are not required. The demand is over time, particularly over the day and night cycles. If you control the operations of the server, then you can reduce power by 2%. Today's State Bank of India's server data centers all have some application of Vigyan Lab to reduce the power consumption. So essentially, these are kind of important problems to look at. Or you should look at another startup like which is started by a alumnus of our institute called Mukherjee. This is a company called Clarity. One of the main sources of drinking water for many people is a hand pump. But often the hand pump water is not free of microbes because sometimes the water is very close to the surface. But with a very simple calibration technology which is installed in the hand pump, no chemicals, no contaminants, nothing, he is able to control the level of microbes in the water. This is something, again, to me, this is something which I would call the right problem because again, it's solving an important problem and it's also having huge impact. For startups, one important thing they need to be able to do. I told you earlier about large companies collaborating with startups. Reverse collaboration is also important because startups need to be able to reach the market. This company, MyLab Discovery Solutions, was the first company in India to develop a COVID testing kit. But the reason they finally reached the market was because of Syngene, which is part of Biocon Group, and because of Serum Institute of India, they helped them scale up their operations and also distribute their test kits all over the country. So this is a very simple example of how startups often need large companies in order to make an impact. Okay, I'm coming to the last part of my talk, which is how do academic institutions do academia as well as research. And one of the first challenges here again, similar to startup, is to work on the right problem. If again you have some time later, I would encourage you to go and look at my website of this gentleman, search for him on the internet. He's a professor called Bob Langer at MIT. His work in his lab has led to hundreds of startups, hundreds of patents, and he has been one of the most impactful academic researchers and educators. He has a set of 4 basic principles he looks for before he starts on any project. First one, he looks at does it have the potential for a big idea which will meet a critical social need and can finally be captured in some kind of a platform. Second, is there a likelihood you will be able to write a technical paper which is based on research which essentially talks about or explains the science underneath this problem? Will you be able to come up with a copy patent that will give unique IPR because only then it will be commercially valuable? And finally, of course, because he works on this kind of biotech kind of stuff, he's looking at would I be able to demonstrate the efficacy of my research through in vivo studies. Essentially, you can right from the time he conceptualizes a project, he is looking at something very big, very impactful. I think there's some message there for researchers that we really need to widen our horizons as far as projects that we work on. We also need to create a new generation of innovators. I just want to give you an example of a program which was started quite some years back in 2007. This was a joint program between All India Institute of Medical Sciences, IIT Delhi, and the Stanford Design School. They are very simple idea. Every year they brought together a group of innovators from diverse disciplines. They took them for a short training course in Stanford Design School. And then they got embedded in the Indian health sector. They spent some time in a district hospital, sometime at a very even at a primary healthcare center sometimes, and then of course at a high level tertiary hospital. And based on this, they try to distill needs of doctors which are not being met by existing products and services in the hospital. From that, they derived a few essential needs to work on, and they developed products which could meet those. A very structured process, but interdisciplinary. You can look at the people in the team. There are people from engineering, science, medicine, design. So this is creating a new generation of designers who hopefully may not this project may or may not work, but down the road they'll be able to have a significant impact. Academic institutions ought to need to change their policies. I'm glad that institutes like IASC and IIT and so on are working in that direction. You need to be able to change even the way professors look at this work. I mean, importance of translation, importance of impact. The research park at IIT Madras is a good example. One of the things they've done very carefully in the design of the IIT Madras research park is they are very clear that they want companies to be a part of the research park only if they are collaborating extensively with IIT Madras, faculty and students. So they have a scoring system. You get some points to your research project. You get some points to take a summer intern. You get some points if you sponsor the PhD, things like that. And only if you get a minimum score, you can continue with the research part. So these are all some structured efforts to ensure that the research part is not just occupied for real estate, but it's actually occupied to facilitate collaboration between the company and the institute. And in this parallelly, what they've also done is they've made sure that there's a policy which encourages faculty and students to, of course, do their own startups, but also collaborate with companies in the research part. IAC, of course, was a pioneer in all this. We've had companies like Strand and so on for many decades now. But when it was institution came to embrace this. So I'll come to the last example. The last example is, and I think this might be somewhat relevant to CPRI. I'm not an expert on the power sector. That's why I did not talk about power. I don't want to talk about you today. But I think the way research institutes look at things needs to change. So there is this institute in Hyderabad which is called ARCI. Their focus is on metallurgy, material science, and modern metallurgy and so on. It's a DST funded one. One thing I found interesting when interacting with them is they have a very application and problem orientation. So, for example, they realize that sometimes there is a necessity in the industry for a particular type of spray coating. They realize that developing that from scratch would take them a very long time. But they realize there is a lab somewhere in Eastern Europe, it was in Ukraine, of course, it was all much before the current war, which already had a core technology for that. So rather than starting from scratch, they got into an agreement with that Ukraine lab, brought the technology back to India, and then they worked through all these different steps. They find other collaborations, they did R&D to optimize the coating, and they did some little bit of translation with the fabricators. Then they of course worked back and transferred the technology. Essentially, I think I find the key challenge for Indian research institutes to be much more problem centric and then to do whatever is required to solve the problem. It's not necessarily you start from basic research every time. Sometimes you might be able to do some clever integration of all of this to address the problem. And finally, the last point I want to make in my is that we also need to focus a lot more on translation. I think traditionally, as I said right at the beginning of my talk, our research institutes have been very good in terms of publication. Many of them have, of course, produced a lot of scientific and engineering output. But the translation of these ideas into industrial application has been poor. But part of the problem, of course, is the industry. So we can't blame the research institutes alone. The fact is, we need to look at new mechanisms to enhance the translation process. There are good examples globally. For example, in Germany, there are Fraunhofer institutes. They play the role of being the translation interface between basic research and application. So in India also, I think we need to look at it. I think we should like CPRI has that potential because you're also very much on the application side. You're into testing standards and so on. So I feel that could be a kind of role you could play in not necessarily doing research yourselves, but in bridging the gap between technologies that people are developing and the kind of research. So let me again once again thank you for inviting me, and I once again wish you all the best and your Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The floor is open now for any questions the audience would like to ask.
Sure, I'm happy to have a question, please go ahead.
You can come down, yes.
Thank you very much. Nice. We have
Good up.
Everybody listen to that.
Sir.
I'm just repeating my observation. What is brought it is excellent. We all like it. We are also focusing on innovation. More important. I think technology readiness levels, especially technology aspects, as well as upscaling. Most of the companies are growing. They require support from all over. I think what they have brought out is really extraordinary. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, in your slides that you showed, one of the slides was about the expenditure of the government in technology. Yeah. What interested me there was the fact that trend which was being shown, more than the volume and the amount, 10 times. There is an increasing trend of expenditure by the government, the slide which you showed, over a period of time. As compared to China, where it was an increasing trend. Right? I'm curious as to why in an environment that we are seeing a lot of support and pro development scenario, expenditure of the government in those fields, why is it dipping? The third or fourth slide of yours was.
Yeah, the challenge is, the economy is actually growing quite fast. So since the economy is growing, even if the government has to remain the same, it has to continue to grow and grow at the rate of growth of the economy. So I think that has caused some challenges. I mean, I haven't not giving a right answer to your question, but I think that is the big challenge. I think it's not. But one interesting thing I should tell you, when the Global Innovation Index looks at India as a country, one of the conclusions they have come is we are an efficient innovator. In the sense that we are, the limited resources we are using, we are actually doing quite well in terms of conversion. So, I think that's a good sign. It means that in a way we're not doing too much wasteful activity. But the challenge is that the industry as a whole has to work, and that has to be driven largely by industry. Government has been doing it for years now. But industry has to.
So thank you for your excellent ideas to make it Visit Bharat. Presently, India is a developing country. They have a target of becoming a developed country by 20%. What are your thinking about becoming a developed country by
I think you probably know if you really want to become a developed country in terms of the definitions of the World Bank and others, one thing you need, of course, is a high consistent economic growth. In fact, even the current level of growth that we have will not be adequate to provide making that. So one challenge is going to be to sustain a significant growth rate for the next 25 years, which given the international. Second challenge is going to be that we need to do this in a context where environment and technology are becoming. So we have to invest quite a bit in technologies that are environmentally friendly. And environmentally friendly technology is generally more expensive. That's going to be another challenge that I can see. The third challenge I see is one which again is very understood by many, that while economic growth is one thing, the distribution of its benefits or what they call equitable growth is another challenge altogether. So while of course at the aggregate level we need to grow very quickly if we want to make that per capita income at this level. But at the same time, one of our challenges is going to be how do we take everybody with us in this journey. That's again not going to be easy.
because there is new technology coming in which is displacing jobs. There is clear skill and talent related issue in India already that's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So all of these things are going to make it a rocky journey for sure. That's my guess.
Anybody else?
Sir, it was a talk by you and quite informative. If we go back in time to 1960s, as per my understanding, India and China were almost same level technologically. But what made China to grow so fast compared to us?
Actually, you don't even have to go back to 60s. I don't remember the exact year, even somewhere in the 80s. Per capita income in India and China are almost the same. So China's rate of growth has happened in the last 5 years or so, approximately. I think that, I'm not an expert on this area, but broadly what the understanding is that China did 2 or 3 things, right? One thing they did, of course, was to focus on manufacturing. Second, they in a way became the factory for the global market. Third, they were very export oriented right from the end of the mid 80s, early 90s when this process started. And of course, they were also, to be fair, supported by the global economy. Today, we are seeing protectionism. Today, we are seeing many developed countries saying, "Oh, we don't want so much from China." But the fact is, China was able to integrate into the global economy without much opposition or any significant, any significant opposition from other countries in the world. So they were indirectly helped because those countries were getting lower prices. It was helping consumers in those countries. Those countries were willing to. So it's partly what China did right. It's partly the whole geopolitical evolution of what is today called globalization. These two kind of went in tandem with each other. China's policies internally, and they were able to ride this engine of globalization over the last 30 years. Now that phase of globalization, which we saw, is sort of now unraveling a bit because people are beginning to say, we don't want so much to be dependent on others. We should have more happening in our own country. This near shoring, and even in the US, Mr. Trump says, "I want to make America great again," which again, it's all about local manufacturing and all the rest. So I would say it's two things. Policies from the Chinese government, but also certain right time in terms of the period during which they fight this. India's challenges are way going to be different because today you cannot succeed just by replicating what China did. Because the world situation has also changed and technology has also changed. Today you have AI, ML, IoT, all these things changing the nature of human life. So India will have to find probably a slightly different path. We have to see about it. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question myself.
Oh, please, sir. I thought I was really down. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Why we are good in some computing and pharmaceutical science. I was wondering why we are not so good in pharmaceutical manufacturing. Is it partly by design or is it like if you take our the slide you have shown where our universities lie, is the problem there or are we not up to the mark in being innovative?
See, manufacturing, of course, has multiple parts to it, but the innovation, I focused on innovation today, but there's much more than innovation, right? There is the entire process of production, logistics, supply chain. Today, those things have become, the fact is, it's quite well known. Indian logistics, even today, is much less efficient than in most parts of the world. The cost of transportation in India, for example, is significantly higher than in most other countries. If you are producing something in place X, you have to even take it to a port whatever, 500 kilometers a day. Cost you incur in India is much higher than you would incur in most other countries. So there are a lot of inefficiencies built into our system. So, and because those are all interconnected and interrelated, removing those inefficiencies is not so easy. I mean, it can't be done. But it goes across state borders, it goes across policies at different levels. So, I mean, while there has been significant improvement in infrastructure over time, it's still far away from the global level of infrastructure. You just, I mean, some of you might have been to China, you just go and see the status of infrastructure there. It's a whole couple of order of magnitude in many cases that we have in India. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. Another part of it is simply focus on process, quality. These are very important. You can't be a global manufacturer unless you really on those. And I don't know, at the risk of incurring wrath of some of you, I think it's cultural issues also. Because I often tell one story, which is a very old experience. First time I went to Thailand was about 20 years, more than 20 years back. So I was sitting in a restaurant on Sukhumvit, which is one of those main roads in Bangkok, and my wife and I were eating lunch. We sat there for about an hour eating lunch. Throughout that time, there was a person outside with a bucket, soap solution, in the bucket, and he was scrubbing the pavement. Okay, now you might think this is a crazy to do. Why would anybody scrub the pavement? People were walking, it was getting dirty. He was not bothered. For that 1 hour, as long as he was in the restaurant, he didn't move. He was just scrubbing that pavement, it became dirty. He was cleaning it, and then just continuously doing. Manufacturing is a bit like that. It's a job. You have to continuously do it without getting distracted with your focus. I mean, today, a lot of the manufacturing investment is going to countries like Vietnam. The reason Vietnam is attracting a lot of the investment is because of, at least in my view, it's a very, very strong discipline. And not discipline, I think, enforced by managers and all that. It is a lot of self-discipline which is built into the country. If any of you have read history, you know how the Vietnamese threw out America from Vietnam. Okay, the same determination they used to throw out a country so much more powerful. They are now applying that to manufacturing. It's it is really ingrained in the country. That's my impression is that you have to really develop that. That's how we understand country. It's taken a pharma industry 30 years to develop all those good manufacturing practices. And even now, some of them get all those warning letters from FDA and so on. And on a lighter note, I once heard a story from one of these pharma companies. He was saying that some US FDA inspector had come. With the kind of chaos on your roads, how can you possibly have a manufacturing system inside your company? Right? What you're trying to say is that's the way your overall societal context is. It's very difficult to have that outside and have something different inside your country. These are all things we have to think about. Us to figure.
Yeah, we probably will. Thank you so much, sir. May I request the directors and the additional directors to come out onto the desk, please? Thank you, sir. But first of all, I offer my apologies for bearing so patiently with a smile for the technical glitches that we had. I really appreciate your patience for that. And thanks for a lecture of such importance and covering the technological innovations and where India lies and what are the issues and what are the solutions to it. It brought out the entire challenges of innovation and technology. Thank you so much, sir. We now move to the next segment of the function. Creating a high performance culture starts with acknowledging external performances. And this has prompted two of our former director generals to institute a prestigious award which are announced each year on this occasion. The first award is instituted by Dr. N. Ramamurthy, former Director General, in memory of his mother named as Mailavarpu Subbalaxmama Award to the best lady scientific engineering officer for outstanding performance. I request our Director General to kindly announce the award, please.
Srimati Asita P.
Ashita P. While I announce the Ashita, may please stay back. While I announce the second award, when the Director General announce the second award, instituted by Dr. P.H.K. Naidu, former Director General in the name of his late father, Sri B.M. Naidu Award for Best Research Paper of the Year based on testing clues and data. Director General to announce the next award, please. B.M. Naidu Award for Best Research Paper of the Year.
Dr. Rajamani P.
Dr. Rajamani P. So may please do the honors. Dignitaries, please take their seat. And congratulations to both the awardees. I now request that.
Very warm good afternoon to one and all. Respected Chief Guest of the Day, Professor R. Krishnan, Director General of CPRI, Sir, dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. I'm extremely grateful and humbled to be receiving this award. I thank all my supervisors, including my first HOD, Ganga Madam, who actually instilled the spirit of R&D in me. To my present HOD, I gratefully acknowledge the permission and support given by CPRI management as well as to the R&D division for patiently attending all my calls. I have given a lot of calls to them regarding the status of projects and so on. I also take this opportunity to thank all my colleagues in CDD and DMP for their support in testing as well as the research work. I could not have done this without the good support system I have in my lab. I also thank all the other and associated divisions, including admin and accounts, for all the administrative and accounting help. I joined CPRI in installation lab nearly 8 years ago, and the lab undertakes testing on all solid insulating materials as well as applied research that will develop new and novel materials for high voltage insulation applications. To all my fellow colleagues, I urge all of you to take up research activities in whichever field you have initially. I know R&D takes time, but at the end of the day, the results make the journey a little bit more easy. So if anybody is interested to work in the areas where we are currently working, the team is always open and we are looking for new talents and further the cause. I thank you all once again and thank you for your opportunity. Thank you.
Respected Director General, sir, and respected Chief Guest, and former Director General, sir, and senior officials of CPRI, my dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how to express my happiness. I am very happy to receive this PM Naidu Best Research Paper Award for the best research. And in this moment, I would like to thank Director General, former as well as present Director General, for encouraging us to pro- publish research papers and transactions. Thank you very much for their encouragement. And at this moment, I would like to dedicate this award to Team UHVR, those who helped you to complete this. The Team UHVR consists of all our ex-additional directors and present additional directors, joint directors, all these people. So I would like to dedicate this award to Team UHVR. Thank you very much.
So continuing the awards that our officers have received during the past years, Sri B.S. Avle received the second Best Paper in International Conference organized by IMA. Jayakishan was awarded the Global Distinguished Young Scientist Award by IEEE Global Conference at Maldives. Savle sir again was recognized with IEC 1906 Award 2023 for his expert contribution in IEC Technical Committee 30. Kishore Kumar received the Best Paper Award at 76th Indian Chemical Engineering Congress, Calcutta. Sriram was awarded the Best Paper Award at CPCON Regional Conference and also shortlisted to Paul A. Chatterton Young Investigator Award at International Symposium on Discharges and Electrical Insulation in Italy. And CPRI was awarded the prestigious Toli Rajpasha Award again this year. Apart from this, I do have a long list of people who were awarded papers. I'm not going through that. I will just go on to the next part. We now come to the end of the first phase of the program, and it is time now for me to request Dr. Ranjit, Additional Director, to propose the same.
Good afternoon, honorable dignitaries on the dais, esteemed guests in this galaxy of intellectuals, my dear colleagues, present and colleagues, member of press and media, ladies and gentlemen. On this August occasion of CPRI Institute Day, we would like to express our heartfelt, sincere thanks to our chief guest, Professor Sri T. Krishnan, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Bengaluru, delivering the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Lecture on the topic, the role of technological innovation in building Viksit Bharat. A very elaborative and in a big way, a very nice detailed presentation and very informative. Thank you, sir, very much. Thanks for the time. Now, I request our Director General to honor the chief guest with a memento as a token of our appreciation and respect. Thank you, sir. We would like to thank our Director General, Sri P.K. Savle, for his approach of very meticulous monitoring, sharp eye on detailed sub-programs, continuous commitment and encouragement with liberal fund sanction to make the event grand and successful. Thank you, sir, very much. We, the CPRI, would like to express sincere thanks to our prominent dignitaries the senior officers from Karnataka Energy Regulatory Commission, Karnataka Power Department, KPCL, Westcom, KPCL, distinguished professors from IISCs, managers and officers of various organizations, with special mention of our customers who have taken out their precious time with their busy schedule to grace this occasion with their august presence. Thank you. Celebration of an event or occasion is an obligation for the occasion. Today in this institute, this celebration, we are delighted to have with us our former Director General, directors, additional directors, very senior officers, and staff whose hard work have led this organization to this height, what we are today. We are delighted and like you have lighted up the memories of past and happy moments of bygone years of CPRI. We are thankful to your kind presence. Thank you, ourselves. We are indeed very grateful to the member of press, media, electronic media for serving this event so nicely and sincerely. Thank you. I would like to thank our chairpersons of various committees of this program, the team members and volunteers of distribution, steering, catering, program upkeep by committees for their efforts and hard work in ensuring the grand success of today's function. I also thank the electrical maintenance division for lightening all the campus and making this event very illustrative. Civil engineering division, security administration, accounts department for their continuous support in organizing this function. We would like to place and regard the services rendered by our laborers, workers, gardeners, who worked hard several days to make this event presentable, beautiful, and the good campus and years. We also thank our various service providers who have risen to the occasion in this event. Let us forget not that Miss Chaitra and her troupe would be performing for us in this evening program, and wish her and her troupe the very best and event. Thank you. We are extremely thankful the Karnataka State Police Department for providing excellent services for the event and special mention for the vigilance services throughout years, making our campus safe around. Finally, I would like to thank all my colleagues, consultants, even foreign customers, research scholars, trainees for their presence in this program. Last but not the least, let me thank each and everyone and may not be forgotten those who have helped directly or indirectly contributing to make this event very successful. Thank you, all of you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now raise for the national anthem, after which I request the gathering to remain seated for further announcement. Shall we start? Jana Gana Mana Adinayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Manjara Sindhu Kujala Kumata Kavina Uttala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Uttala Jaladitharanga Tava Shubha Name Jare Tava Shubha Ashisha Mare मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय हे I now request the directors and the directors to kindly escort the TPS to the VIP room while the audience is seated. So in the next phase, we have a cultural program, a musical evening by the renowned winner of the State Award for Best Singer, Mr. Chaitra and the group. We shall now take for high tea, I believe it's around 4:30 now. So we should be here by 5:15. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being a wonderful audience. Thank you and have a great year ahead.
Huh? Oh, ಬರ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಬನ್ನಿ ಕೆಳಗೆ